Liberals didn't get everything that they wanted in last night's vote, and now they have the debt ceiling fight ahead. Vermont Senator, Independent Bernie Sanders is a member of the Budget Committee and joins me now. Senator, Happy New Year to you, and thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year to you.
What do you do now going forward with the debt ceiling crisis and everything else that you face? How do you change the climate in Washington so that we're not living from cliff to cliff?
Well, I think the answer to that, Andrea, is you do what the American people want us to do. The American people understand that the middle class in this country is disappearing. Poverty is at an all-time high. And meanwhile, the wealthiest people and the largest corporations are doing phenomenally well. And the gap between the people on top and everybody else is growing wider. Meanwhile, the wealthy and large corporations continue to pay relatively low tax rates. What the American people are telling me, what people in Vermont are telling me, is that we cannot move to a deficit reduction on the backs of the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor. That it is wrong. You know, when my Republican colleagues, including the previous speakers, talk about spending cuts, let's be clear what they're talking about. They're talking about major cuts in Social Security for people who are trying to survive on $15,000, $16,000 a year Social Security. They're talking about cuts for disabled veterans, for people with disabilities, cuts in Medicare, cuts in Medicaid, cuts in education, cuts in nutrition. Now, I think there are ways to do deficit reduction that are a lot fairer. We are losing $100 billion every year because the wealthy and large corporations are stashing their money in the Cayman Islands. Let's deal with that. 1 out of 4 profitable corporations is not paying today a nickel in taxes. Let's deal with that. President Obama, as you recall, originally wanted $1.6 trillion in new revenue. And he understands that revenue today, in terms of GDP, is the lowest that it has been in 60 years. We need more revenue from the wealthy and large corporations. So what I will do is part of this process is make sure we close these loopholes and we ask corporations to start paying their fair share.
You in Vermont suffered terribly in August of 2011. I recall very well, I was up there, the storm. Now, what does Congress, what does Washington say to the people in New Jersey and New York who went through this horrible Superstorm Sandy and now don't have the relief and Congress goes home?
Well, you're absolutely right. It is incomprehensible. You're right. In Vermont, we suffered. And now in New Jersey and New York, people are suffering. But as you know, we passed an emergency relief program, disaster relief program for Sandy. We passed it in the Senate. And again, our Republican friends in the House chose not to deal with that issue. And I think that is a real tragedy.
Senator, thanks for joining us today. And again, a happier 2013 to you.
And Happy New Year to you as well.